Hey everybody, how are we doing? I'm Ben Griffith, and this is the Ben Griffith Breakdown. So, in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the debate that took place last night between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Many of you probably watched it. There was a huge viewership on this last night, probably one of the highest in history. I think I read 73 million people tuned in last night to watch. And typically, when we have these debates, afterwards there is a fevered discussion within the media about who got in the best jabs and who got their point across in the most effective way. There's a lot of spin on both sides. This was not one of those debates. Last night was an absolute political catastrophe for Joe Biden and the Joe Biden campaign. The reaction to this debate was immediate and was emphatic from not only the Democratic operatives, but from the liberal media who carries water for Joe Biden 99% of the time. The reaction was one of concern, anxiety. I would go as far as saying distress. It was so bad that no one could even spin it. And it was, I watched coverage for it for a while. It was hours of anxiety and hand wringing across every person at CNN and MSNBC and any other media outlet out there who leans left. So one of the things, though, that struck me and really surprised me out of the gate was how surprised everyone was about this. I saw this coming a mile away, and I don't see how everyone else didn't. I don't think you need to be clairvoyant to see that Joe Biden was going to struggle in that setting. So we have all watched Joe Biden stammer and stutter and mumble his way through prepared speeches for months. And these people thought he would survive an unscripted debate for 90 minutes unscathed. Simple fact of the matter is, I hate to say it, but Joe Biden's campaign was in between a rock and a hard place here. And, if you don't debate, you are admitting that you can't go toe to toe with Donald Trump. And if you do debate, you're taking the risk of watching what happened last night happen. And they intentionally put Joe Biden out there in June, which is ridiculously early for a campaign. For a debate. They never have these that early. And the reason they did that was they wanted to put him out there early so that if something like this happened, they had enough time to recover and do damage control from that. But there's no way that they thought it was going to be this bad. And I can assure you he will not recover from this performance. There's no coming back from that. It was that terrible. When you have the New York Times and Democratic leaders saying publicly that he should step down and step out of this race and let somebody else jump in, you are in serious trouble. Biden it was absolutely imperative last night that Biden proved to the country that he had the mental acuity and the energy to do this job for 4 more years, and he failed miserably. Additionally, above and beyond the stammering, stuttering, and mumbling, Biden failed to make his case on policy and what his plan was to fix immigration in an effective way, or to combat inflation, or to fix all of the other problems that he's facing. Now, neither Donald Trump nor Joe Biden, I will say, did a good job of selling their vision last night. What each of them had to do was say, this is where the country is today. We are in a bad place. And this is my plan to get you from point A to point B. And these are my policies on how I'm going to get you there. And neither one of them did that effectively in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as saying that Donald Trump was not exceptional last night. There were a number of times when I was sitting there and going, really, that's your response? You could have said these 3 things and destroyed that narrative. And you just went on a tangent. He didn't answer questions directly. He avoided questions. So while he wasn't good last night, he didn't have to be. at the end of the day, the substance and the policy conversation of this debate, I hate to say it, were secondary. This debate was about perception. This debate was about strong versus weak, energetic versus feeble, mental acuity versus, just being completely obtuse at times. So, again, Joe Biden, the onus was on Joe Biden last night to prove he was not a feeble old man, especially after dozens of lawmakers saying how sharp he was in private and how energetic he was in private. After videos of him looking old were called cheap fakes by the liberal media and by the White House. Simple fact is, no one who is intellectually honest in any way, shape, or form still believes that the man we saw last night is capable of making effective policy, of meeting with world leaders in a way that he's going to be respected, and dealing with important decisions. If Iran had some sort of a nuclear device and blew it up inside Israel, do you want the guy you saw last night deciding what the response to that would be? I know I don't. So the big question is, where does this leave the Democratic Party at this point? And the simple fact of the matter is, this leaves the Democrats and the DNC in a very, very tough spot for a myriad of reasons. Number one, they probably would not make a decision if they decided to not run Joe. They probably would not make that decision until the Democratic National Convention, which is August 19th. So, just about a month and a half away. That leaves a very, very short runway to not only push a new candidate to the public and say, this is the person, and these are the reasons why you should, that you should go vote for this person. Usually you have over a year of pushing that agenda. Now you're going to take that down to 3 months, if that. Again, short runway, you have to try to get that person on the ballot in all 50 states, which is a challenge within itself. So, number two, there are no strong choices here. Kamala Harris is terrible. Gavin Newsom is responsible for California. Everyone watches all of these stories come out of California about the homelessness and the debt and every other thing that comes out of there. I think it would be hard for Gavin Newsom to win a general election versus Trump. Gretchen Whitmer out of Michigan, I don't think she has enough name recognition. People are throwing her name around. There's probably people who are watching this right now going, Gretchen who? Exactly. But the bigger problem here is bypassing your VP, who is a woman of color in today's Democratic Party, who throws merit completely out the window and make decisions solely on identity time after time, would be unthinkable. To pass her up. You can't run her because she's unelectable, but you can't not, because the progressive side of the party would go crazy. Her approval ratings are worse than Joe, and she's been useless for 3 years. So additionally, if you try to run anyone outside of Kamala Harris, the way that I'm reading and understanding federal election law and the way campaign funds are moved around, nobody could use Joe Biden's campaign funds except for Kamala Harris. So if Gavin Newsom runs, they'd have to raise money for ads and stuff like that for him. They'd have to go through and start campaigning and fundraising for him to get money for that. He couldn't use those Joe Biden's campaign funds, but Kamala Harris could. So it is an uphill battle, to say the least, for the Democratic Party after what happened last night. And I just don't see how they get around this. My prediction, I like to make predictions. My prediction here is that Joe stays put and they try to do damage control from now until November. And the problem with that is that Joe Biden is not getting any younger. Joe Biden is getting older every single day, and it shows. The problem is not going to fix itself, and these gaffes and him wandering off and all these other things are going to continue. And, these videos, again, of him just wandering around and having to be let off stage by people, they can't be called cheap fakes anymore. We saw what he was in this debate last night. But I think one of the biggest consequences of this is going to be his donors, his big donors. After that debate, these people do not want to chase good money after bad anymore. In between how this is going to affect his polls and now the lack of money that he'll bring in is going to make his chances of winning even exponentially worse. It'll be interesting to see how big of an effect this has. Interesting to see the polls as they come out in the next week or two. Interesting to see the campaign funding reports as they come out in a few months. It will also be interesting to see how the DNC tries to navigate around this quagmire that this debate has created. Long story short, things are looking bleak for Joe Biden. And the Democratic Party nor the DNC have any good answers as of today. And it's going to be an interesting few months as we watch this fallout unravel. So, guys, I will leave it there. But just a heads up, we will probably be in Greenville, South Carolina, downtown this weekend. We're going to get out and interview some people, see what they thought of the debate, if it changed their mind, what they think, that this is going to be moving forward, and just kind of get the take of the people. So again, we will leave it there. Thanks for tuning in. And again, questions and comments in the comment section, and we'll go from there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Later.